to begin, I'm here with my pen to take notes on what you say. And what I say. I don't know what I'm going to say. But let's try and take a minute and do a little breathing and get present. And I'm going to ask you, what comes up for you when you think of the idea of hisbodedus? Not an idea, not a teaching that you heard. What comes up for you? For you, right? It doesn't have to be long, could be one word, could be a sentence, but try not to turn it into a whole. You may have something you need to get off your chest. It may be really heavy, maybe very negative. That's completely okay. But I just want to say this is a very, safe space, and it is more than okay. It is probably impossible any other way. Yeah, probably impossible any other way than sometimes feeling angry at Hashem. It is like completely fine. It's part of life. And whatever other shades and just what actually comes up for you right now. So let's take three deep breaths, and we'll just go around the room, and you can pass. You don't also have to say anything either. But it's very important, I think, that we do this. Thank you, Ara. Okay, so a couple people on the Zoom wrote things. Do you want to speak up and say it, or do you want me to read it for you?
I could say.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. I wrote silence.
Silence. Love that.
Peaceful silence, like serene silence.
Amazing.
I felt I felt like Hashem is just standing next to me and watching over me.
Beautiful.
And I'm glad. I'm happy that I don't feel anger. I think I used to years ago, but I don't do that anymore, and I'm very happy and grateful for that.
Wonderful. Already you want to say? Or Yael?
I wrote therapy with a smiley face and surrender.
Beautiful.
Mine is intimacy, reflection, life force, serenity.
Love it. Okay, Chevra, in Yerushalayim, you're at Leibish at the table. Anyone want to go first, or you want to just start? You want to? You good? Or you don't have to.
What's the question? Repeat the question.
Right. Is what is the idea of hisbodedus? What does it bring up for you?
Taking time to make a relationship with Hashem on like your terms, not on the community's or halakha's terms. Which date night with the Creator. It's date night with God.
Date night with God. Beautiful. Yeah.
The first thing that came to my mind is free expression without withholding, just allowing it to come out.
Right. Is everybody online hearing this? Maybe I should repeat.
Yes, we can hear.
You can hear it? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Jake, go ahead, just speak loudly. Yeah.
A frustration with the order of what comes out, like appreciation or taina, or like what the how am I going to start, and how does that affect the flow of what I'm actually saying and accessing?
Meaning saying to Hashem in hisbodedus. Yeah. Beautiful. Good. Yeah.
What came up for me was release of repressed emotions.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Release of repressed emotions. Not best.
What comes up for me is Hashem, it's me, Esther.
Nice. Nice. Hey, Hashem, it's me. Yofi. So,
God, honesty.
honesty. Good note.
I had an experience the first time with Or Haganuz, and they took us to each person that was at the sadhana was given a tree. And I thought it was, like, for me, very novel. So now I'm happy to continue with the...
Yofi. So what is it saying to you, the idea of hisbodedus?
Well, I never took it up after that, but I'm hoping now that I'll be able to find a tree.
Hoping to find my true.
Hello.
Yeah, we uncharacteristically started within 10 minutes of the start time. The amazing book Hashem. Yeah.
I'm hoping to fulfill Hashem's request to be closer to us.
Ellie, we're just going around the room and everyone is saying a word or a sentence or two about what, or a few words about what hisbodedus, the idea of hisbodedus brings up for you. Not an idea that you learned about it, but what it actually brings up for you as a person. Amen. So for me, what it's bringing up for me right now is really being me. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. I've also really being me, which it wasn't always like that. I've had all kinds of, it's been years and years of hisbodedus, Baruch Hashem. Not completely always consistent, but right now, thank God, I'm in a really good place in hisbodedus. Thank God, it happens to be. Leibish, we're just going around and everyone is saying what the word hisbodedus means to you right now in your life.
Wow. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't do hisbodedus, so if I were to just imagine what my life would look like with hisbodedus, or what hisbodedus would mean if I did start doing it, is creating a real connection with my creator. One that's outside of the black letters on white paper, outside of the four walls of a stove, something more direct, something more raw and vulnerable.
Rough and vulnerable. Thank you. Beautiful. Ellie, you want to say something?
Thank you for asking.
Of course.
Yeah, I nearly didn't come today. I came today because I guess I'm putting the question out there. They will answer one way or the other. Is I've heard so much about it, like this. It's the kind of thing I'm supposed to like do, and if you don't do, you're kind of like, you can't have an opinion on whether it's right or not, which is fine. That's a fair. But for me, it's just like I talk to Hashem for the things I do. I have an expectation for the things that I contribute in our relationship, and he contributes in our relationship, and working to develop that. And I can't really say I see much of a place for hisbodedus beyond the treasures, feel our treasures. So for me, I like sitting here and just putting the question out there. Is this for me? Am I going to continue coming?
Is this for me? Amazing. Is this for me?
I've had so much about hisbodedus from you. You did a couple words in our house, if you remember.
Yeah.
And then you continued it. And I'm still like epic toilets. And this isn't right for me in my present stage in life. So today is the question, am I going to reconsider that? Or am I going to maintain a status quo?
Nice. Very good. So first of all, I want to say for the people on the Zoom that my image changed into this trippy thing. It happens sometimes. I don't know. It like flips on and flips off. Yeah, good for him. Exactly. Like I don't know why it happens, and I don't know how to turn it off, and it just randomly goes on and off sometimes. So it's all
Rabbi,
yeah.
The word hisbodedus comes from hisboded, which I think would mean like to isolate yourself. But I would say then add on, but for the purpose of just, nurturing your relationship with Hashem. So is that a correct definition of it?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. But the word that Rebbe Nachman chose, he could have called it sicha or something like that. He could have focused on the content of it. He could have focused on the the word that he chose to focus on. Hisboded means to make yourself alone. The word that Rebbe Nachman chose to focus on is the space making for the hisbodedus, which is.
It could also mean secluding. It could mean also to seclude yourself, but it's the same concept. Is you're not doing anything now with ben adam l'chavero. You're focusing solely on ben adam l'makom.
Yeah, I mean, you might be davening about your relationships with people, but that's right. And we're gonna see. I want to go really, really slow for especially today, this opening shir, and not jump too fast into definitional things.
I did want to know how closely he's relating this concept of hisbodedus to the concept of like Golis, putting yourself into Golis, Masa Siddiqui.
Yeah, that's what that's.
Not. We'll talk about it. Not for now. I want to keep it really slow and easy on our way in here. It's our first year. There's so much to explore. The topic of exile is one thing that is interesting, but but for now, what I'm using as a guide is this book by Rabbi Kluger. So there's a bunch of noisy tourists passing by. I don't know if the people on the Zoom can hear this, but in any case, that he wrote. He's one of the great teachers of our generation, Rabbi Kluger, and I'm fascinated by him and by the way he puts things.
What's the name of the book?
Yichud HaHitbodedut.
And that's
okay. That was on the flyer, right? And I sent you a picture of the opening page. Now, not everybody is on the shir group. I'm not sure. Yael and or Simchat and Shir Nacham. Do you see it? Are you on the Rebbe Leibish shir group on WhatsApp? Any case, if you want, you can send me a personal message on my phone, and I'll send it to you. Okay, by WhatsApp. But let's just I want every single question. I also want to finish at 2:30, and we can stay after, and etc. And it's okay. So what's very interesting to me is what he chose to be the first thing that the reader would encounter is an excerpt from Rebbe Nachman's poem. Rebbe Nachman wrote a poem at the beginning of Likutei Moharan. And he took one verse. It's a long poem. It's an acrostic going with Rebbe Nachman's name and his father's name, Nachman ben Simchat. And you can follow along or just listen to me. What's amazing about this poem is, and I think really important for us, and it's like a message from Rav Kluger, who is a student of Rabbi Kivak. Many of you have encountered his name before in my teachings because I trying to be a student of his. And so Rav Kluger is already, he's a long time student of Rav Kivak. He's older than me, a way more, whatever the word is. He's a super high person, Rav Kluger. So what he chose is this verse from the poem where Rebbe Nachman is talking to his own soul, not God, talking to his own soul, trying to awaken his own soul. Fascinating. Listen to the verse. Nekov leiv ha'evan. How do I know he's talking to his own soul? You can see it from a little bit later and from also the context before. I'm not going to read Rebbe Nachman's whole poem, it's quite long, but the verse that he chose is this one. Pierce the heart of stone, v'ha'erli misham ma'at panecha, and light up from me from there a little of your face. Barak ha'chama, shining like the sun. Yafa kalevana, beautiful as the moon. Al tacharish, do not be silent. Ve'al tishkot, don't be quiet. Harima kolcha ha'arev, lift up your sweet voice. Bishirot vehoda, with songs and thanks. Uftach picha, and open your mouth. Vetotzi dvarecha haneimim, and let out your sweet words. Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, before Hashem. Dalu einecha lamarom, lift your eyes up to the marom, to the supreme, to on high, let's say. Uzchor ahavatcha hayeshana, and remember your ancient love. That's what Rabbi Nachman is saying to his soul, right? Pierce the heart of stone, light up from me a little of your face, shining like the sun, beautiful like the moon. Do not be silent, do not be quiet. Lift up your sweet voice with songs and thanks. Open your mouth and let out your sweet words before Hashem, before Kadosh Baruch Hu. Lift your eyes up on high and remember your ancient love.
And remember your ancient
love. Your ancient love. Gewaldig, gewaldig, gewaldig. Right? What this evokes for me is that there's kind of like, it seems to be, and that's why I had us do this exercise of what the word hisbodedus brings up for you, not an idea that you heard, but what the word brings up for you as a person. Some of you came and didn't yet say. I would love to hear from Gitti and Ayala, Miriam, Batya, and from Bible if you want. Want to say anything, a word or two about what the word hisbodedus brings up for you?
I mean, I'll tell you what the poem just brought up for me is the Rambam in Myron Nebuchim in the second.
Not the Rambam. What you, for you, as a person, not what somebody else said. You can do it.
Can I share? Can you hear me?
It's an idea.
Let him think. Go ahead, Gitti. Yeah.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. It's been such a while.
Good to have you.
To me, And I've got so much to learn. But to me right now, hisbodedut is just talking to Hashem, whatever's on my mind, whatever it is, just letting myself go, no restrictions. It's like how I used to write in my journal of like, I used to feel like everything had to be perfect, but that's not hisbodedut for me. Hisbodedut to me is like there are no limitations. I could be upset. I could be frustrated. I could be happy and joyous and full of gratitude. I could be dancing in the streets and just thanking Hashem. I could be doing whatever my heart and soul are saying. Hashem's listening, and we're like having a conversation. That's what it is to me.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Thank.
I just want to say one more thing. I was in a thrift shop a few days ago, and everything is on like crazy sale. And I found a little ceramic thing that says, I'm thanking you, or I thank you 3 times, because, and I got it and put it on my fridge, because whenever I do, let's say after davening, like to just talk to Hashem, that's always the first thing I think about is what I'm thanking him for. And then I'll go on, well, these are my problems, or these are my requests, or
Attitude. Yeah.
like,
Thank you. Very important.
Read everything. So,
Amazing. Ayala, Miri Bata, you got something?
Hey.
Shalom.
Shalom. So geschmack to be here. I think the word space is what's coming up for me most.
Space.
Like,
love it.
Yeah, and maybe, like the way that we say hamakom yinachem, that when there's such overwhelming grief, the only thing that could comfort is Hashem as a space, as a wide open space that's big enough to encompass the depth of pain. I think maybe when I'm talking to Hashem, which is not frequent enough just yet, when I'm talking to Hashem in that way, there's space for me to be the ugliest, scaredest, smallest or biggest version of myself that I can't necessarily find space for in the world. But with Hashem, there's space.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye, you ready?
I've heard some, very nice things about Hamakom, but the way you expressed it, that was just amazing.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you.
Beautiful.
There's this idea. It's complicated, obviously. I'm not going to go into the length of the idea.
What does it mean for you?
Of a person, even a person who's not fitting, like Yiftach, the example of Ram, getting some level of a Ruach Hashem to accomplish something in the world. And in his description, he writes, awakens within himself this character trait. Well, it's not like from above, it's Hashem allowed him to get from within himself. And that's the idea of the expectance that I feel like. Sometimes it's Ruach HaKodesh from the outside, and sometimes it's from the inside. And that's what the hisbodedus enables.
So very, very related to what Rebbe Nachman said about the inner, the godliness within coming out.
Right.
Balder. Gewalt. So I want to then now read this little they put like a Rav Kluger at the beginning of the book put an announcement, kind of vizot lemudai, like a what's the word, a kind of like a disclaimer, but it's more of like a proclaimer, whatever. That he says, because he called the book Yichud HaHitbodedut, right? The word Yichud right away brings to mind something that he doesn't want you to think of. He says, Every place in this book where you're going to see the word yichud, unification, this does not mean high, lofty ideas or concepts. Like unifying names. Sometimes you may see in shuls a yud k vav k interspersed with an aleph, daled, nun, yud, and it goes like yud, aleph, hey, vav, right? And that's a meditation of, and a yichud, it's called a yichud in Lurianic, in the Arizal's Kabbalah. He says, that's not what I mean. It's like, don't think that, because it's a whole science, it's a whole very precise, a profound, exquisite, wonderful thing, an amazing part of Yiddishkeit. But this is not a book for Kabbalists. This is not, hisbodedus at its core is not a Kabbalistic yichud like the yichuds that we find all over the Ari. Ela medubar al nekudat chayim shaveh l'chol nefesh. What we're talking about is a point. He calls it nekudat chayim. How do you translate that? A place in life. How do you translate nekudat chayim? Point in life, a point of life.
What does he mean by that? What is a nekudat?
Right. I think it's an expression in Hebrew. It just means like a place in life that everyone can get to. Shaveh l'chol nefesh. It's a life experience, maybe, is what he means. And then they put in bold here, kesher amiti. It means that what we're trying to do is have a true bond, kesher amiti, hitkashrut pnimit, a bonding that is interior. How would you translate? Internal, yeah, not just like an external, superficial thing. Behaskamat v'ratzon halev uvidvekut hamachshava, with the agreement and desire of the heart, and the kind of focus of the mind or the thoughts. As the Torah of Chasidus has taught, Kol Tnu'ah Shel Yehudi, every single movement or action of a Jew, b'machshavto, in his thinking, b'diburo, speaking, or ma'asav, or action, hana'aseh b'ratzon tov v'chavanat halev, that is done with goodwill and intention of the heart, harehu yichud. It means that you've just made a yichud. Biyota po'elet gilui yachido shel olam. So what a yichud means here is it creates and makes a revelation of the yachido shel olam, the one of the world. I don't exactly have that expression in English. You say one above. We don't say of the world usually, but of Hashem, right? So since Hashem is one, everything you do to connect to Hashem makes a yichud. It doesn't have to be this whole complicated concept.
Yeah, I think the reason he might have used that expression, yichudo shel olam, is because we're doing it, and then we're bringing that, light down into
that oneness. 100%.
Common factor of all the random experiences we have in our world. Every single one of them is him. That's what he means by Yichuda Shalom.
Nice.
The one common factor of the entire universe that we have.
Beautiful.
Is what?
Is Hashem.
Yes, Hashem, as in understood through this. By us, by my sharing this idea and you listening, that creates a space where Hashem is experienced. Doesn't just exist in my thoughts. Now there is an expression of Hashem in the unity we're expressing and holding space for each other. That is a yichud. That's what what was trying to communicate.
Sounds good. Sounds great. Yeah, and doesn't even have to be dafka between two people. Anything that we do, and with a sense of connection and a kavan of the heart. Yeah, it brings out the oneness of Hashem. And so, in this sense, it's and this is something that we'll come to. Is that Hitbodedut is, on the one hand, it's a thing that you do. On the other hand, it changes everything that you do, because you have this kind of central internal space that you go to, and then the whole rest of your life gets a little more connected to Yichud. The Medrash Rabbah actually does a play on words. It says Yehudi, Yichudi. That's what we do. We bring out the oneness of Hashem all the time in everything that we do. This is Hashem.
Rebbe Leibish.
Mm-hmm.
Can I offer a few words to tie it together?
Sure.
Okay, so you mentioned this word yichud and the emotions of the heart and the kavanot of the mind and this concept of nekudat chayim. So maybe the language that could be helpful is what Joe Dispenza talks about as coherence. That when we align the heart and the mind in a state of yichud, which is coherence, okay, we tap into anukudat chayim. What does that mean? That means that you're now open to a live data stream of Or Ein Sof energy coming through your system. So you're touching this point of where life energy enters, or where you're accessing it now.
Beautiful.
And then being expecting our work through our action.
Beautiful. Is there room? Come in. Move around or whatever. Oh, you have to go? Okay. Go to Jake. Beautiful. So
yeah. Could I say something, Rabbi Hundert?
Sure.
Was it Miriam Batya who talked about the Hamakom Yenachem? Was that Miriam Batya?
Yeah, I love Miriam Batya. Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking about that because when a person is in deep grief, like especially if they lost somebody, your grief is so all-encompassing and intense that you feel it cannot be contained. So that explains beautifully why we would use that word makom. There is a place to contain your grief, but so you have to find that point in life, because if you feel it can't be contained, then you want to kill yourself because of the loss. So if it can be contained, then you're going to go back to that point of life, the term that you just mentioned, nekudat chayim. So you're not going to want to leave the world because of the loss, but you're going to find your place back in the world despite that loss and continue on.
If we wanted to phrase that in terms of hitbodedut, would you say like hitbodedut is a way back into life?
I think so. Yeah, I think so very much. Yes.
I'm just writing it down because this is all very important to me. I just want to be completely transparent that there's a possibility that in the summer there'll be some kind of a gathering of some kind where hitbodedut is going to be, for English speakers, promoted in a very strong way and taught about and done together with buses going to the forest and a whole thing. There are some people interested in this, and so part of my motivation of making this year, in addition to just teaching Torah and getting better in my own hisbodedus, and connecting people to this practice that I definitely find to be life-saving for sure, it also is because one of the challenges, it feels like hitbodedut is an idea or a practice whose time has kind of come, and there's a possibility for this to really reach many people, B'ezrat Hashem, and it's so this learning is also helping to find the sort of, I'm trying to find like the nectar, like the main language that speaks right to where people are at, can open up this this practice as a real thing for them. You know, yeah. So B'ezrat Hashem. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to put this out there, which is, I'm really happy in this moment to go to a forest and sit there for 2 hours and just eat and just talk to Hashem about nature. Why do we need to learn about hisbodedus?
Well, okay, Ellie's asking why, like, I can just go do this. I don't need to learn about it. I mean, absolutely. It's what I find it helps me, you know, and I'm sharing that. If you don't want to learn about it, don't learn about it. Like, but there is wisdom. Like, for instance, the fact, what I want to speak about now is the fact that Rav Kluger opened with that poem, with that section of the poem, talking to where Rebbe Nachman was talking to his own soul. You know, why did he do that? If the point of hisbodedus is talking to Hashem, right? And I want to. This is just Leibish Hundert talking, as usual. Is I want to just bring in the idea of muteness, of ilaim, of being ilaim, Aleph Lamed Mem. Right? When you are at a Sheva Brachas, you add to the benching, Devai Haser V'gam Charon. May Hashem remove. You're directly saying to Hashem, remove the sadness. Devai is a deeper word than sadness. A kind of wilting, bleeding, melting kind of dark place. Devai Haser V'gam Charon, and anger, take away the sadness and the anger. Ve'az ilaim v'shir yaron, and then the mute one shall burst forth in song. Right? And the mute one shall burst forth in song. That there's something covering over, like Rebbe Nachman's poem, this heart of stone, and it's some, you know, that Ruach HaKodesh place, that deep soul place, just, you know, this, like, for instance, Ellie, to your question, in terms of, this helps me to Shalom Aleichem, I'm late. This is good food. This helps me, you know, to just go to the forest and talk to Hashem. Yes, you know, but to think about this, that there's an awakening that I need to have within myself to be able to allow a voice that has been silenced or mute for a very long time to come out. Right? That learning about that helps make it a more, you know, multi-dimensional experience.
I'll add that I've really seen the real power and the real benefit of, you don't realize how much our words are frames for thoughts and emotions, and when you really find the right frame in a word, it can access, you know, it's almost like you talked about to Nikov, what was the first line of that?
Leiv Ha'evan.
To place, right, that's actually kind of like a key opening up a lock. It's like it's like finding, if you're going to articulate your thoughts and your feelings to God, it's really finding the word that serves as the key to really accessing the depths of what you're feeling, and then that can really unlock, you know, and release and unleash like a lot of stuckness and a lot of obstruction. And it's interesting because when you just talked about unveiling the heart, that's like Mila, and Mila is also a word. So it's like we find the right Mila, you find the right word to access a thought or a feeling that you're trying to clarify within yourself and articulate to God. It's also like it's an uncovering. It's like
amazing.
Yeah,
you have a mitzvah to circumcise the heart. Right? It's like unamaltem is or less levavim. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. That obviously doesn't mean heart surgery, right? And it's so beautiful what you're saying. Are you finished, brother?
Yeah.
That's so beautiful what you're saying, that when we do get that word out, it's mamish like there's this covering that comes off, and we can, as a lot of people said things like that. Hisbodedus is such an important time where I can feel free expression without having to hold it in, and to be able to let out things that there isn't so room for that all the time. Makom. There isn't like makom for that to happen, and so it's a creating of a space and aloneness, a hitbodedut. In that sense, we can get a little closer to thinking about Rebbe Nachman's choosing of this term instead of just calling it tefillah prati or something. He called it hisbodedut because that aloneness that allows that aloneness with Hashem, that allows that safety and I want to go into actually what I by the mention before about makom, because it's something I wrote before. If you can read my scribbles, I wrote it on the page there. I didn't write it very clearly, but I read my handwriting. Is that Reb Nachman in Likutei Halachos? I just happened to see this today, and it really caught my eye. That he said Hashem is called Makomo Shel Olam, Ki Hu Lamala Mehamakom Ve'ein Lo Shum Makom B'Chol HaOlamot. Hashem has no place in any of the worlds. It's an amazing parallel. That in 1 year, a bunch of maybe 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 6 years ago or 7 years ago, in Uman, it hit me that Elaim, this word for muteness, is a acronym, and this is just Leibish Torah, is an acronym for Ein Li Makom. I have no place. And so how can I speak? How dare I speak? I'm mute because there's no place for me to have a voice in or at, right? So the thing is that that's a very difficult place for us to be in as human beings, but amazingly, it's like Hashem made all the worlds and all the way down to this world, and also doesn't have a place, so to speak, because there is this kindred space. When we go to hisbodedut, we're making, so to speak, place for Hashem, and Hashem is making place for us. Now that's very poetic because what does that mean, right? But it means what it means. But it really, you really are. Somebody said the word silence for hisbodedus, right? It was the first thing that we filling everything up so much all the time, and there's so many. Our phones are who knows what. We're filled up with so much stuff all the time, and the space making that hisbodedut is, the aloneness and the focus on, and as we're going to see, Rebbe Nachman is teaching about the when and the where, even though you can do hisbodedus anywhere and any time. I used to, when there used to be phone booths, I used to go into the phone booth, turn the phone upside down so you don't hear the buzzing, and just have a straight, infinite connection. It was.
And nobody bothered you. When
Nobody.
you saw a man speaking into an upside down phone, nobody
noticed.
I should disturb this.
Yeah,
man.
no, they don't notice. They don't notice, but it's there. People aren't so observant. They're not so observant. It looks the same. What's that? And collect calls. always a collect call.
Rabbi Hundert.
Yeah.
So two things. Number one, you said Rebbe Nachman said that Hashem is Makom Shel Olam, but he's understanding it as Hashem has no place anywhere in the world, which makes sense because that is the whole purpose of the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash, was to give him a place in the world. And second of all, maybe he uses the concept of my soul is speaking Because if we speak by complaining or by looking at the negative and looking at things in the wrong perspective, that's really not our true speech. It's the body speaking. It's the discomfort of the body and our challenges that's speaking, not the soul.
Yeah, to both of your points that are very, very, very good. If you look in Sefer Shmuel, when the Navi comes back to David, after David says, "Here I am sitting in this beautiful palace, and Hashem is just his presence, or the Shekhinah, whatever is in a tent." He says, "I want to build and he says, Ha'ata tivneh makom lishmi." Will you really, like Hashem's like, oh, you'll really do that for me? And the psukim are very heartstring psukim. It's amazing. Hashem's like, and I've been in Sefer Shmuel. I can't tell you chapter and verse, but you can find it. And where he's like, of course, like
because he just counted the number of the Mismar B'nai Israel, and then there was a plague that came.
Right, that's another story. That's another story. That's about finding where to do it. But before that, that's by the end. Before that, when he says, "I want to make a place," it's this is the psukim are so beautiful, so beautiful. And poetic obviously doesn't mean Hashem is only in the Mikdash or only in the Mishkan or whatever, and yet Hashem says, "I'll be there," I'll be there, and wants us to make a space for Him, and so that's a big part of what hisbodedus is creating that space, and then like you said before, Miriam, and that's I think a lot of what this poem is, and it's a lot of what many of us may have experienced in doing hisbodedus is you can, and in fact Rebbe Nachman writes about this in Sefer Hamidot, that sometimes hisbodedus can actually increase anger and get you into this rut because you're missing this piece of poetry that Rav Kluger put at the beginning. You need to coax out of yourself a deeper voice, like a more authentic voice, and not just go there and just amplify your negative self-talk, because then it can just make you feel even cosmically negative. That's all it is. It's just like, on the one hand, there's a fine line. We're going to speak about this. We have months and months to learn this, but like, there's a fine line between release and being in a safe space to get it all out and say everything to Hashem, and sort of stewing in your own juices, whatever you want to call it, right? Yeah.
But what about the deep pain that the anger is a manifestation of?
So we had to try to get there for real, right?
That's where we're headed.
That's what we need to get there for real. With this, that's Hashem, That is the.
Is it possible that the Bible talks about being menatzeach, and it's like he wants us to be menatzeach the Rebbe Nachman.
Yeah.
To win him over, like like maybe I missed the beginning. Maybe this poetry is also related to the elegant, the elegant speaker from the Baal Tfilas, the story of the Baal Tfilah, the elegant speech, the orator.
Yeah.
Right, to know how to menatzeach, and it's like a lawyer. It's like to know how to win over the mass of the world in conversation. But if someone doesn't have that elegant speech out of that poetry, maybe could bring out the anger, because I'm like, Abba, what do you mean? You want me to be holy? You got to give me the ability to do it, to overcome whatever I need to overcome, right? It's like maybe that's where this anger is coming out from, like in trying to conquer and win over in conversation.
Very powerful what you're saying, right? Rebbe Nachman has a teaching, that when David HaMelech, Nitzuach is officially, I think the Pashtanim say it's a word for a musical instrument, or for the leader of the orchestra of the instruments of Levium. But it also comes the word to be victorious. And it's actually Gemara. Ashrei l'misha menatzchim oto v'sameach. Happy is the one who who when you win him over, he's happy that you did it, right? That Hashem kaviyachol, like we had in last week's parsha, Hashem says to Moshe, "Leave me alone, and I'm going to destroy them," right? And Moshe says, "Oh, leave me alone." Wait a minute, hanichali, like you must actually mean don't leave me alone, right? And it's this amazing thing, and that's also a fine line within people. When do people really mean leave me alone, and when do they actually mean do anything but leave me alone? Even though they're saying leave me alone. So in any case, the
People are wise.
to be able to hear lo pashut, but I think that so mitzad echad, yes, Hashem made the world, and this is a general thing about davening. Hashem made the world that wanting things to happen through davening and wanting to be quote unquote won over, and our davenings are so important. Mitzad sheni, the word choice, like you mentioned, and sort of also what Andy was mentioning. And this is also something very big in terms of bringing hisbodedus to the world, is as we're experiencing more and more in our very word-conscious marketing reality that is like constant in our pocket, or like it's crazy. I used to how many commercials did you used to see in a day? Like, anyways, the point is that sometimes having even the nimbleness or the creativity or the openness to use a different word or a different phrase than the stuck place uses can open things up within yourself. You can win yourself over. You can find some self-compassion instead of self-flagellation by sometimes phrasing the same thing just in a different, with different word choice can open it up. Like that, what Chaim Leibish is bringing out is, and this is more towards the content of hisbodedus. We can talk a lot about the space making, which is the word is a sense, but definitely there's a content, and that's the actual things we say or do. And we can also, as has been mentioned, you can dance, you can do anything in hisbodedus, even just be there and do nothing, but just that you showed up. Rebbe Nachman said, even that you came, and even if you weren't able to do anything, but that you came, still matters that you made this space. But just finish my sentence. Just to what Chaim Leibish is saying is that the word choice, sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead, Miriam.
So when you say even just showing up, that reminds me of like the Ben She'eno Yadea L'Shol, but he shows up at least, And right. Also the word Adar, we're still in the month of Adar. It comes from deer, Dira. Actually, I named my son's middle name as Adir, but I didn't know things so many years later. And so the month of Adar is all about, making a space for Hashem, because the word deer is contained within.
Right. Aleph Dar, yes, the Aleph should be able to come into the world.
Right.
Just shifting your word choice.
Yeah.
Can shift everything. That's where you.
Yeah.
To remember where
yeah. Right. Shifting the word choice.
Oh. From what you've done all along.
Yeah.
You were saying from what you've done all along.
Right.
You shift your word choice.
Yeah, it can open. Shifting the word choice can help to have the self-compassion. I had some second point about it.
Orator.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That this is going to be a big thing. Thank you. In the Melitza, the way you say something. In the story what Chaim Leibish was bringing up was the story of the Master of Prayer, and in that story, there are all these different groups. It's a whole amazing story. Ayin Sham, and one of them was fascinated and basically centered their lives around oration and speaking. And this is another thing to just realize. Yeah, the fruitful quality of language, and and that, getting a little more creative and present with how we phrase things to Hashem can be very helpful. Okay, we're at the end of the time. Does anyone have any thoughts or a closing ideas they want to share?
We called it word choice. I don't really think. I think it's actually more sublimated or like not conscious. Like you actually just have to make an openness and a presence for the word to kind of the word to kind of arise to you. You can't choose the new paradigm, the new frame of your life, but you can create a space and a time of openness for which it can like enter.
Beautiful. So that's the two ideas coming together: the aloneness and the space making, and then the words Bezos Hashem emerge. L'chaim Chaver, this is a wonderful first year.
Bless us that we should have the right words.
Yeah. And they will still be zeichet to make the space and find the words and be creative and be besimcha. Thank you everyone so much for coming.